毎度、カイ先輩です。お元気でしょうか？ It's been a very interesting day. I hope you're doing well. I myself am doing fine. Actually, a little hot, to be honest. Because the weather here in California, if you haven't noticed, if you don't know, it was, right now it's 21 degrees. The high was 28. That's 82 degrees Fahrenheit, if you guys think like that. But, just another typical day? 違うか。まあ、これから英語でお話ししましょう。でも、何に関しておしゃべりたいですか？ニュースに関しておしゃべりしたい？アメリカンに関しておしゃべりしたい？英語の発音のコツとか、それとも日本に関しておしゃべりしたい？ね。だって外人多くない？違うか。なんだろうね。これからちゃんとコミュニケーションしないとやばいかもね。この世界。まあ一人でね、こうやってビーチでのんびりして別に問題ないんだけど、でもみんなで何かを経験したかったら、いい経験お話ししないとね。でもやっぱりニュースとか見るとやばいよね。アメリカはやばいよね。よく考えると良くないよね。まあ正直に言うと結構反対してますね。いろいろ。でもまあ今日のニュースを聞いて、もう遅いですね、みたいな。デジ、どうも、どうもって。The news is crazy, but in all of this news, I'm just trying to focus on myself, to be honest, and more specifically, my shoulder. That was a crazy story, but things are better. And what else am I going to focus on? Because I'm looking at the news and everything that's going on, and it has nothing to do with me personally, not yet. So when should I get upset? When should I get angry? When should I start yelling at people? And the truth is, I never want to yell at anybody or get upset for anything, especially when the guy that hit me in the car who was staring at his fucking iPhone, I want to yell at him, and I would punch him if I saw him, if I could just remember who he was, but I can't. I was in so much pain, I don't remember exactly what he looked like. I think he had a mustache, but I don't want to be yelling at anybody or be in pain for anything, but when you're actually going through, a life or death situation, near death experience, the outside world kind of doesn't matter anymore. Like literally, it was funny because my shoulder kind of like slipped the other day, a few weeks ago, and I literally was like reliving a moment on the street right after the accident. And I was like on a knee. It was in the kitchen though, but I was like reliving the moment on the street. I was like in both places at once. And I was going like through the same confusion and the same kind of pain. And yeah, I mean, what are we focusing on if it's not our own personal well-being and health, but a reflection of that well-being and health, is how we interact with the outside world. And so if we're going to control something, it's not going to be anybody else because we can't control anybody. I mean, that's just kind of like the rules of good, common, decent society. You know, we don't control each other. We have this thing called freedom. And so what are we left with? Well, we control our thoughts, we control our words, and we control our actions, and that's pretty much it. And if people want to collaborate together, hopefully it's done through free will and not coercion. So, you know, I don't want to get too deep on anything, but that's just the MO every single day, is to focus on your own thinking, your own thoughts, and your own happiness. Or are you not focused on happiness? And so watching the news today kind of got a little crazy, as so many people are just, well, actually going through some real shit right now. And then a bunch of us are just sitting at home on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or whatever going, wow, look at that, you know, and pointing fingers and blaming. And soみんなどうだろうね。だって日本にいるでしょ。日本のメディアの物語アメリカに関してどうだろうね。正しく言ってるかな。本当の、まあこれ日本語わかんないよね。どうしよう、調べていこうか。だってわかんないよね。わかんないとき英語で言っちゃおうか、まあなんていう辞書調べるかって感じですね。ちょっと待って。おー、宣伝っていうの？宣伝っていうんですかね。まあ、カタカナ英語にしてもあれなんですけれども、なんか日本の宣伝はどうだろうね。ちょっと信用できません。まあ、アメリカの宣伝も信用できませんね。最近の。特に最近の。やばいよ。宣伝っていうか、ニュースというか、言葉の意味がなくなったって感じですね。何が本当か、何が嘘か。Yo, Meteor, Nokia。どうも。Yo って、あ、起きた。今起きた。そうなんですか。11時ぐらいと思うんですけれども、俺も遅起きなんですけれども、いつも朝はのんびりって感じですね。コーヒー飲みながらぼーっとしてまあ海でコーヒー飲んだ方がいいんですけれども、なんだろうね、俺の好きな、コーヒー屋さん、フィルズって言うんですけれども、なんか海の近くだから海の影響がちゃんと感じてるからいいんだけどね、一番美しいカフェはもうちょっと遠いですね。家から20分だからさ、そこはまあやばいよ。毎日あれぐらいの環境、まあだって今日はね、言ったっけ28度だよ今21度なんですけれどもね、もう夕方なんですけれどもね、カリフォルニアの天気はやばい。平和。特に朝ね、なんかのんびりしたいよね。まあ今日日曜日だし、まあ日本だとね。だから今日の考え方って今日何に関してを考えましょうって感じで、なんかニュースを見ると、落ち込む？合ってる？単語。俺、カナダの BC にいる。ああ、よかった。寒いでしょ？俺の友達がバンクーバーの近くの、なんだっけ、ニューウェストミネスト？西海岸だけど、南の方が、もう、夏って感じですね。はい。まあ、今度ね、BC 行くからよろしくお願いします。ね。でも、あれも、もう長い話になっちゃうんですけれども、肩に関して、これから、病院行くと思うよ。ね。で、それもう1ヶ月ぐらいかかるかもわかんないですね。手術って言うんだっけ？それもちょっとする可能性がありますね。 まあヒーリングしないと、ね。だって4年前の、まあ、車にぶつけた時、なんだろうね、もう世界旅の予定があったからさ、早く直さないといけないと思って、ちょっと中途半端だったかもね。ヒーリング終わってなかったかもね。で、この間、まあ、ちょっと分かってきたんだけど、X レイして、骨が大丈夫ですけれども、骨の下の、なんていう、また辞書調べるか。ちょっと待って、辞書使いますから。てんりんりんだけど、読めない。何これ読めないよ。何この辞書。あ、剣という。あれ、この骨の裏に剣があるんじゃない？それがおかしいかもわかんないね。だから、ちょっと、病院行ってきます。で、ずーっとね、だって4年前の事故の後、カイロプラクターに行って治ったのね。でも、足りなかったかもね。治ったと思ったけど、やっぱり治ってなかった。なんかちょっとずれてるって感じがして、で、京都に行った時、なんかずれちゃって、はい。まあ、バンコクまで行った。だってバンコクの次はインドか、みたいなね。でもそこまで行く勇気がなかったよね。だからちょっと戻ったって感じね。でも、いつかなんか一周やりたいね。で、まあ今日のニュース、特にね、なんかあの辺行きたいんだけど、イランとか行きたいね。まあアフガンでも行きたいと思うね。でも怖いよね。特に今、戦争って。なんだろうね。アメリカが、まあ、悪くなってると思うよね。正直に。で、僕、カリフォルニア人だから、ちょっと違うと思うよ。俺、ちゃんと平和信じてるから。ね。で、その平和は、もう自分の心からスタートって感じで、まあ、毎日瞑想して、今日のニュースを見て、ちょっと、なんだろうね。おーって感じ。どうしようって感じで落ち込んで。でも、俺はちゃんと平和に信じてるから、これからどうするか、ちょっとね、どうしようって感じね。で、我々、まあ人間だから、お話ししないといけない。で、まあ、なんだろうね。いろんな言語があるから、イラン語、イスラエル語、中国語もね、ちょっと組んでるんじゃない？この、問題っていうか。だから、なんだろうね。世界の会話があれば、英語じゃないの？わかんない。違うかもわかんない。みんな中国語で話してるかもわかんないけど、ね。中国の影響があるらしいよね。でも、これからどうするかって感じで、俺は、なんだろう。まあ、平和のあれを作りたいって感じね。こういうところ、こういうなんかビーチのあれを、なんか自分の土地買って、いろんなちっちゃい家を建ちたいと思うんだよね。で、みんなを誘う。で、みんなで頑張るって感じで、ちょっと、隣のトトロみたいな田舎のどっかみたいな。で、ね、畑って言うんだっけ？わあ、日本語錆びてるね。でもまあ、これから英語で話さないといけないから、ね。So guys, seriously, what are we gonna do? Given the circumstances of everything that's going on in the world, we gotta like make some sort of decisions. And once you make a decision, you hopefully stick to it. You know what I mean? Kind of like this this live stream, if you think about it, because I'm doing it, even though like I'm making the long form video and wait, it's coming. um, like I'm doing the live stream just because I made a decision to commit to you guys, to give you guys some sort of like, what do you call it? Outlet to actually hear actual human talk. You know what I mean? So if, lest we forget, this is really important that we as humans, look at each other in the eye and have these conversations, hopefully in reality, not through big screen TVs or iPhones or iPads. You know what I mean? Like the confusion is coming from the machines. If you haven't seen Terminator 2 yet, I mean, 俺、そこに住みます。そこに住みますって、そこに住みますって、これからこの海の近くSure. アンリさん、カイゼバイ、無理して英語を話さなくていいよ。でも、これ、だって英会話の悟りだから、for me, it's either or a lot of times in my head, like, should I speak in English or should I speak in Japanese? And I like talking in Japanese. It's kind of like one of my hobbies, quote unquote, like I enjoyed learning Japanese. I mean, I don't know if you guys like learning a language or not. And this is always like the kind of the irony of like getting onto like YouTube, because I see a lot of white people teaching Japanese and it's kind of like, oh, really? Like, I get it. I understand why, how do you say, people talk about their hobbies, but, it's like doing everybody a service, is kind of like, well, what do you guys want to talk about? And then it was always funny because, like, of course I can talk about anything in Japanese, mostly anything in Japanese, not everything, but most things. And it's like, oh, well, if you guys want to switch over to English, no problem. I'll switch over to English. And then all of a sudden, nobody understands what I'm saying no more. So it's kind of like, oh, so did you want me to talk in Japanese or do you want me to talk in English? You know what I mean? So it's like, either or I'm fine with. It's all the same to me, as long as you're being congruent, as in English or in Japanese. But a lot of times people don't understand how to express themselves in the second language. And so they end up becoming somebody they're not. You know what I mean? Like they're just memorizing some script or something. And it's like, you're not even saying anything remotely original, Where are you as an individual in the second language? And a lot of people aren't there. You're just saying, 駅はどこですか? Those kind of phrases. So, you want to hear me talk in English? Great. Let's do English for a second because, the name, I got to deliver on the promise. And the promise is 英会話の悟り. If you think about it, English conversation enlightenment has a very kind of specific vibe or tone to it, right? And so if I'm going to give you guys enlightenment, then you got to hear me, like literally, because like all the other schools that you go to, the first thing you see is like this lesson, like, hey, how do we learn English? I'm like, well, first of all, the letters are lying to you, right? That color right there, that's a sh. Right? So that's how you say that word, America. But, yeah, you had your hair cut before. So, right. So this hair, the goal is I'm going to tie all of it up. And if you can see, it's still kind of short back here. So there's kind of like some leftover. But yeah, recently my hair is in that purgatory. Purgatory, I don't expect you guys to understand purgatory, so I'm going to look that up. But it's like the neither nor state. It's purgatory. Purgatory is you guys would say 煉獄髪の毛の煉獄本当に嫌だ。この長いけど横が短くはない。もう本当に自分のルックス大嫌いよね、今。この髪の毛ね。ヒゲは大丈夫だけどね。But yeah, I'm growing out the hair and going for the long hair, no care look because I think that is the best reflection of my thinking. You know what I mean? Just like live and let be. Just be myself, you know, not try to like force one look or another look. You know what I mean? And yeah, no, I mean, that's kind of where that's at. So yeah, it looks a little more polished, but it's still not, I mean, it probably looks fine here, you know, if you keep me really small, keep me in the shadow, like, oh yeah, it looks like a California dude, right? But yeah, I'm not happy with my hair, to be honest, and so, sorry. Realize, notice, no, it's the same. Well, notice ってあれって感じだね。見かけってか、なんて見て you like notice 新しいこと気がついたって感じ。でも realize でまあ頭の中で計算したって感じ。ね。で notice って何かをニュースを見て Oh, I noticed this man, I saw a lot of news today. So anyway, I noticed a lot of crazy misinformation, AI generated images, right? And so I noticed it, but I realized that this is literally why here, I gotta go. I gotta do this. This is why society is breaking down, guys, because we're losing the human touch. Like, humans need to talk to each other, share stories that are real, and then at nighttime, we can tell each other fantasies around the campfire. This is what we've done for thousands of years. And the pursuit of truth and the sharing of truth is what elevates us, you know, like with like air conditioning and like airplanes and stuff, like science, right? Like actual physics and breakthroughs that are shared, right? I mean, you could talk about patent it and sell it, but like that's a separate story. Still, the communication between humans really needs to be accurate, you know? Like if I'm telling you a story, like, hey, here's this fiction called Game of Thrones, and you go, oh my God, it's real. Like, no, you're delusional. You know what I mean? Like, no, like, don't take Game of Thrones seriously. It's a story. And a lot of people, literally right now, across the world, do not understand what reality is anymore. They are getting duped by fictional stories that are being created by people for various reasons, if not outright control, but, you know, make a quick buck and stuff like that. So being able to distinguish between what's real and what's, you know, real is, I would say, very important. But the human interaction that we're doing right now is essential to anything we're going to build together. You know, like you can read an article about what's happening and it's like, well, is it though? How do you know this article is not just a piece of fiction created by the propaganda department? You know, how do you know? Who do you trust? And so this is why I do what I do, like, you know, and teach and like show you guys that like there's so much bullshit out there, especially when learning English, right? Like all your teachers, most of them are literally not telling you the truth. They are like, oh, let's talk slowly so you can get better. Like I did the video on the other guy. I explain later, like who and stuff, but it's kind of like, dude, who's this guy's teacher? It's not his fault that he isn't speaking a little more fluently, it's like, who is teaching you? Like, how are you, how could you get up in front of people with TV cameras, go on film like that and talk like that as if you've never talked to anybody before without rehearsing? And, it's the teacher's fault, like 100%. So anyway, なるほど. I do not give a shit about others I don't give a shit about how others think, but yeah, exactly. That's a good attitude. Now, you should kind of care in the sense that, like, you still have to have friends and do business, you know what I mean? And there is somewhat of you should have some sort of respectable angle, you know what I mean? But like, you got to make it about what matters, not what doesn't matter. And so the things that don't matter, like your haircut or your nationality, you know what I mean? Like, I remember, like, oh my God, America's so horrible sometimes. Like, they would create these hair rules for hair because they were targeting certain people with big kind of afro hair. And as a guy that can get afro hair myself, and knowing that they're not really targeting me, but they're targeting, African Americans, it's just like, it's that kind of bullshit that is like, what matters, what doesn't matter. And yeah, looks, race do not matter. You know what I mean? At all. Other than, oh, you have a different color or different style or whatever, right? Cool. Oh, you have different customs. Cool. But it's not the essence of like what matters, right? Like, so anyway, snap back to the reality, everybody. Yeah. Well, and so what is reality? And it's definitely not in front of this. You know what I mean? It's not in front of the Black Mirror, right? Oh, that's kind of cool, right? It kind of looks like a Black Mirror for a second. I'm so used to seeing it with like images, like, but if you just look at it, it's like, no, yeah, that's a Black Mirror. Look in the mirror, bro. So anyway, yeah, we got to get off the machines, and the machines are basically elaborate GPS location coordinate rendezvous machines. Where are you? Where do you want to meet? Okay, let's meet there. And then you have your conversation. You shouldn't be texting people, emailing people, unless it's like, you're emailing like health insurance or something like that. Like, of course, you get mail and stuff like that. But like for the correspondence that matters, it's face-to-face conversations. I don't know if you guys saw the picture of Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg and Jeffrey Epstein all having dinner together in private. It's like, you think that they're having these meetings like, well, so the emails came out, right? But a lot of the stuff, the details of what they talk about are probably not said, in an email or a text. It's like, hey, nobody's recording this, right? Because they're having real conversations. Like me and my best friend, we have coffee about once a week, and we don't film. I always think about, oh, maybe I should introduce you guys to my best friend. But I don't know. It's like the time is too valuable to just be like, oh, let's make content. You know what I mean? We're like busy paying attention to each other and our lives and what's going on to be bothered with like, oh, let's share this, like for what, So it's always good to have direction or reason for the things you do, right? And so for me to hop on this is not because I like sitting in front of a computer, I do this because, like, well, it's a very convenient way to reach a lot of people, which, how else are you going to do, that? So it's kind of like we got to like learn to balance the digital world and the real world, but most people have not balanced that out yet. They have lost the plot. So Yeah, only. Yeah. Um, for the time being, though, you know what I mean? Because, like, as I get older, I wonder about things like, and me and my best friend, we talk about this. We talk looking at houses in Japan, like Akia, for example, like on the Izu Peninsula, overlooking the ocean. It's like, why live anywhere, you know? And I know that, like, since I was raised in California, I have like a momentum of like people that I know, places that I know, family and whatnot. So it's like, it is comfortable to be in California for sure, but like, does it have to be here though? And why not have multiple studios around the world, right? Like, why not? And so you're free to dream as crazy as you want to dream, I mean, after all, like, everything that I'm doing is just some dream that I had, months or years ago, you know what I mean? And here we are, like this drawing right now. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it before, but it came out of my imagination, Everything is a dream, if you haven't figured it out yet. And having traveled halfway around the world, and, with the shoulder and whatnot, I have come back to home base just to kind of like reassess everything. And the dream part is crucial to all of this, because what happens next depends on what you imagine now. And so what are you imagining, Like, literally, do you have the freedom, even in your own brain, to imagine something that's awesome? And most people don't, because they point the finger at somebody else and say, well, it's the Ayatollah or something, like, or it's the fucking president, it's his fault. But it's like, everything starts in your imagination, no matter what you're experiencing. And even if you do experience things that suck in reality, like getting hit by a car because the guy was busy, texting his buddy or whatever, yeah, you got to deal with reality for sure. But once you come to that equilibrium, that you're here now and it is real and it is happening, and you have a moment, you get a glimpse of the future. Well, you didn't, because there's no such thing, like, it's all imagination. And so people have lost the plot, they don't understand how the system works. And it works by you imagining, well, whatever you're going to imagine, and then implementing it. You know what I mean? And how you're implementing it is based on your imagination or your understanding of reality. So it's like reality has some sort of like canvas level, base level to it. And your imagination goes on top of that. And what are you brave enough to imagine? And most people aren't even brave enough to imagine anything better than this, So, yeah, it's a crazy thought process to go through all this, right? But like, this is, I kind of think why I drew this, because it's all imagination, bro. 古い空き家は、リフォームにお金かかるお金がかかる。てんてん。いや、わかるよ。リフォームが必要。それがもうわかってる。ね。だから安いから買いたくないよ。ただ、なんだろう。ロケがいい？ロケが良かったら、まあ、リフォームして、まあ、買ってリフォームする予定ですね。だからそれは、なんだろうね。It just depends, because everything is like, まあ、これ日本語で考えたことないからね。まあ、なんだろうね。別に空き家が欲しいじゃなくて、まあ安いから欲しいじゃなくて、ただ、もったいないって感じで。で、俺、なんか、お城みたいな、日本のお城が好きで、まあ、古い家が好きですよ。なんか、そういう、禅みたいなね。好きだよ。俺には全然問題ないよ。でも、ちゃんとリフォームしないといけないよね。それは間違いない。それは OK。だって外人がそういうスタイルが好きだから、なんか Airbnb みたいなビジネスして、なんかインスタで、Check out my Akia. Hey everybody in America, you like Japanese culture? Come stay at my Akia. I have a real Japanese Zen garden. And check out this like 10 tatami room, guest room or whatever, right? Like people will pay. Like this is the crazy thing. Like everybody in Japan, I don't think gets it. Like gaijin love Japan. Like take their money. Jesus Christ. Like give them something to buy. Give them what they want. You know, they want the ninja experience. Like say you're close to the ninja farm or whatever, you know, like whatever. Take the money and run, you know? And then you guys could live your dream right here. Well, this is fake, but you know what I mean. 京都っぽい家が好き。そうよ。舞鶴に留学した時、その、ホストファミリーの家が、普通の、別になんていう、その古い家じゃなかったよね。80年代の作りかな、忘れたけど。だからまあ、そういう和室がいいかどうかじゃなくて、ちゃんとトイレがついてたらね、ウォシュレットみたいなね。まあヒーターとかエアコンも必要だね。あれは良くないよね。なんか、冬や寒いからね。まあ、だからリフォームするよ。でも、まあこれ、あれだから想像だから、one house, two houses, three houses, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't know if you guys saw like my Hollywood apartment back in the day, but you know, I'm down with the modern architecture as well. And, you know, to be honest, like, I think that, I probably should get some sort of like apartment in Tokyo just because there's so many of you there, you know what I mean? It's kind of central, if you know what I mean. Makes it easier to do things, you know, when you don't have to like move around all the time. So you just pick like a central place. And so anyway, I'm probably going to get some sort of like apartment or hopefully a penthouse, but we'll see. Somewhere in Tokyo, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So, まあ最近、話してないよね。それがまあ長い話になっちゃうんだけど、まあ10年前、まあホスト父さんが亡くなってから、なんだろう、俺、アメリカに行って、まあ、it's a long story. I don't want to go into it. But everything, as far as I know, everybody's fine. Yeah. I need to go back to Maizuru, but just so busy, you know. working. Roaster. Sticks の歌、The Grand Illusion みたいですね。Yeah, well, actually, the Sticks, The Grand Illusion. You know, it's funny how you can use the internet to look stuff up. Sticks. Huh? How do you spell Sticks? Grand. There you go. There we go. Huh. You know, Styx is funny because, like, I know they're hits, but I don't know, like, the albums. Like, Come Sail Away. Everybody knows that, right? Um, Styx. How funny. But yeah, no, the Maizuru thing is, you know, it's just like one of those things because it's like, I I'd been there many times after, you know, like when I was in college, I went to visit. When I got my first job in Yokohama, I went to visit. So, you know, we'd stayed in touch, but after I went back to America, you know, it's just so, you know, like texting and email. In fact, I don't really text or email a lot of people that are long distance. You know what I mean? なんだろうね。遠距離って感じで、it's kind of like, who wants to sit on a phone just texting people? I think I realized that 10 years ago. Like, no, I don't want to do that. So, well, then what do we want? And it's got to be like a nice balance, right? A balance of using the computers and reality that is like completely offline. This is fake, by the way. Like, we got to use the computers because we can, and they do amazing things. I mean, how else could I draw this so quick? You know, like I use my iPad, right? And the color thing, boom, 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 boom. I mean, I could have done paint, I could have done markers, but then I'd have to like take a photo with film. You know, like these machines are amazing. I'm not going to lie. But I mean, like this fake shit, right? Like after a while, it's like, you're just staring at a TV, you know? Like, I think in the 80s, we had this thing called couch potato. And, いや、俺のおじいさんがあれだったよね。お父さんのお父さんね。もうテレビ見ながらビール飲んで、タバコ吸って、もう寝るって感じ。仕事終わってから。どうだろう？いいのかな？で、俺、いろいろ見てきたから、自分の思い出を見ても意味あるかなって感じ。カナダに行った時、友達とオーバーランディングして、なんか、how do you say like a 4x4 off-road vehicle? でも、人間がいないところ、もう何百マイル運転してドライブして人から離れてキャンピングして本当にこの I have video, I have like photos, right? But then we're just looking at the photos on a TV, you know, or on a screen together, right? So it's like あれでいいのか？I could show you, and it's like, hey, look at a photo. It's a photo. It's a photo. But it's just a photo. It's not the real experience, you know? Like, seeing it with my own eyes, you know, without a camera, and just taking in that experience of coming through the forest, right? We're driving down the forest, and then, like, the trees were getting all narrow, and then, like, we break through. We come, like, through, like, a little creek, and, like, the truck comes up onto the beach and it just opens up and there's this like old shelter that like was abandoned, like nobody's in it and there's nobody there and it's this like cove, like, and like the ocean is just like stretching out and then there's like there were like cruise ships going by because like it's like Canada to Alaska みたいな感じで so like and then like, I didn't see a whale, but I heard the whales at night because you hear the blowholes, you know? Every once in a while I hear like a coyote in front of my house because there's this like big open area with coyotes. That always makes me feel like I'm like, ooh, I'm back in nature, you know? But you know, experience, right? Like real world experience. Remember, this is fake. This little background is fake. And I'm just doing it for convenience sake. But then like living in a in a drawing, that's just as fake. It's all mental constructs, So is this good? Is this bad? Well, whatever, it's just another day. But the more we live offline, I think the better society is going to be. And it's always kind of been my problem is that when I'm offline in America, people don't know that I'm a YouTuber. And so it's like always kind of weird, like, because everybody's in their own head and their own world. And it's hard to engage in a way because I don't have any. I do if I did it, but then I feel distracted because honestly, I spent like years talking to a lot of you guys, thousands of you, 10,000, I have how many, 38 million views, but that's like views, but I know I've met thousands of you over the years, right? And you kind of get used to a certain function, I guess, like I had developed a sense of purpose while living in Japan. Now that I don't live in Japan, the only way that I can connect is through the internet. And in the same way, you guys are like, ooh, 外国はどうですか? 海外旅行行きたいね. I was like, well, so like, what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do about it? Like, how are you going to do it? How are you going to get there? How are you going to afford it? Where are you going to live? You know what I mean? There's so many questions. And it's like, you got to know somebody. You don't know anybody. Who are you going to meet? Like, there's a lot of things you got to do. Then you're going to talk to some like organization. Maybe you're going to pay money for some program. Maybe you're going to get married. Maybe you're going to go to school. Maybe you're going to try to get a job. There's so many things that you could do. And there's so many different countries you could go to. Like, you can go to Canada because it's cheaper than America. But then, I met a lot of you that came to America. We're like living in LA. And you're like, damn, it's expensive in LA. I remember one girl, she had this like room share situation from some corporation. And they were just like packing like, 4 people in a room, because it's cheaper than getting your own room, right? And if you're only going to be here for a few months, it's a good way to save money, but you just lose all your privacy. And like, well, these are the decisions you got to make. And in the same way, like I wanted to move to Japan after graduating. I'm like, how am I going to do it? And there was a path. It was like, you got to get a degree. And and I remember learning about this path because at my host school, they had the American teacher from the JET program, and he was like, "Yeah, dude, JET program is great. You got to get your degree, but then once you get a degree, you get this cool job, make some decent money, and you're living in Japan." So I was like, "Okay, cool, I'll do that." But then I applied for the JET program after college and totally nailed it. Like they were so going to send me there, but I decided not to go with the JET program, and I did a private corporation. So, there was a path, at least for me, and I knew about that path, because I got out. Well, because I went to Japan, but then that whole path, where did I learn that? I think I saw some sort of like ad at my school in high school. So anyway, what's your guys' path? How are you going to do it? And I'm sure there's some corporation out there that's offering something, right? But then you got the internet, you can look up anything and like you can find anything, and it's amazing the options out there. But like, when are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? Like, when are you going to get started? A lot of questions. And if you're not doing it, then why aren't you doing it? And then basically it comes down to like, well, what excuses do you got? And money, my English sucks. But then your English doesn't really matter because you can learn once you get to the foreign country. So there's so many things to talk about, right? Man, なんだろう、留学のあれ、まあしたことないんだけどね、そういう仕事。So, アンディさん says, アメリカってワーカーになったら休みいやー、どうだろう。会社員みたいな感じ最近どうだろうね。会社員あんまり知らないから。どうだろう。俺の弟は、まあ自分のビジネスを始まったんだけど、誰かの違う店に移動して、まあ俺のベストフレンドが自分の会社を作って、で、なんだろうね。まあ俺のカナダの友達も自分の会社作って、会社員になりたいっていう人はあんまりいないから、ああ、でも、yeah, fuck Max. But I know a guy that got a job. Sorry. Um, like 会社員ってワーカーになりたいっていう夢は全くない。Like カフェとか行くとき、なんか大学生が勉強してるじゃないいつも。いや、YouTuber になりたいってみんな言うよね。そっち系のデジタルマーケティングとかさ、フリーランスみたいな、自分の会社、自分の仕事みたいなね。だからまあ、worker って言われたら、like Amazon driver とかさ、で、休みがないって感じだよね。で、俺もバイトしてた時、なんか、まあ、Uber の運転、結構自由、スケジュールが自由だったんだけど、お金がダメだったよね。だから、なんだろう。どうしよう。やばいよね。よく考えたら。Like, what is everybody doing? You know? How are you stacking that coin? And that's why I say, like, 外人 love Japan. And there's like millions of them that want to go to Japan. Open up a business, start an Instagram account, learn English, and start selling them shit. Like literally. Like so many people. And then like, you guys want to like close the country? Like what? Like what are you doing? Like I know America is shooting itself in the foot right now, and so is Japan, but it's just like once the older generation gets out of power, I think that we're finally, once Generation X kind of takes the wheel, hopefully there's going to be a change, but like, man, I can't, yeah, it's too unbelievable. で、Uber Eats 知ってた？まあ、Uber Eats ではなくて、ただ人間をあちこち、タクシーみたいな感じね。なんか YouTube ちょっとやる前だよね。うん。fuck Facebook。アメリカは overwork あるの？まあ、overwork and underpaid? Yeah, あるよ。なんだろうね。一人で成功してる人少ないって感じだよね。みんななんか、ルームメイトか、パートナーにね、助けてみたいな感じね。みんな二人で、三人で、四人で、組んで、頑張らないと、ね。一人で成功するって難しいですね。アメリカで。まあ、日本でもそうじゃない？ So, yeah, I mean, you talk about like the situation in Japan, right? This is why I just don't get it. And it's just like crazy. Like, I've seen Japanese YouTubers who are doing English channels, like they're speaking in English, but about Japan. And they're doing very well. like the Akia ね。だってあれ流行ってるからね、海外で。 で、日本ではあんまりニュースになんないかもわかんないんだけど、いや、空き家の、あれもうビジネスっていうか、インダストリーもうめっちゃ流行っとるよ。You can make a lot of money if you wanted to do that. You just gotta like create a website, well, become a realtor or whatever, if that's what you want to do though, right? You don't have to do Akia. You could do tour guides, like you could well, even start a restaurant, you know what I mean? Like whatever you want to do. Hiking guides, like camping guides, like there's so many things you could do. And all you got to do is just create an English channel and tell all the gaijin, come to my thing, you know? So, yeah, 日本の working situationは worst だね. Well, I don't know. You don't know until you go to Canada. I know a guy who left his job in Japan, went to Canada, and you know, you got to find a job, right? You got to get a visa, and all of a sudden, maybe you got to do work that you don't want to do, you know what I mean? Because you got to make enough money to support your family. So, you know, maybe it's not as bad as like working at a Japanese corporation. Like my buddy, he works at Panasonic, my American friend. He works at Panasonic, and I mean, he's always wanted to work for a Japanese company. I don't, I mean, he makes good money, I guess, or decent money. So he's got a nice car, he's got a house, got a family. I don't know if he really likes his job, but you know, yeah, Japan's pretty bad. I know. I want to go to Europe in terms of working. Yeah, I hear Europe has some very relaxing policies as far as like work hours and pay. That's what I hear, but you don't know until you go, right? Like you can hear stories, you can watch other YouTubers, but you really do have to kind of like maybe visit first. Because like even when I went to Japan the first time, it was for 10 months. It wasn't just like oh, maybe I'll try it. I was kind of committed. And, you know, what if you live in the wrong city, you know? Or what if you get the wrong job? And so you don't know till you go. And even after college, I got a offer to work in Yokohama. And I know enough about Japan. I was like, Yokohama, that's not bad. You know, I kind of wanted to be in Tokyo. Yokohama's close enough. And I looked at the map. I was like, well, change the train, change to Toyokosen or something like that. Yeah, that's close enough, you know? So, but I know Japan well enough to kind of know. But a lot of people, they're like, I'll just go to Europe. And they go and they're like, oh my God. I know one girl, she went to Canada. And I think she kind of made a mistake, you know? It wasn't as awesome as she thought it was. So just because you're suffering now doesn't mean it's going to be better in a foreign country. It's going to be new. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be scary. But then once you get into that day-to-day loop, it's going to be the same shit. You know, you are who you are until you change it. So, yeah, I don't know. But everybody's got to figure this out for themselves. You know, I know from in my situation, it's, no matter where I go, as long as I have a camera, I got a job to do. 違うか。こっち. And I kind of like even don't like talking about the app because like I don't want to be like salesy or whatever, but it's like, yo, if you want to learn English, you know? So watch the ad. And that's why I made an ad, and that's why you should watch the video. But like, and then once you have the app kind of talks for itself, because like all you got to do is just look up each word, and that's how you say it. If you were actually interested in learning the number one accent in the world, not because it's better, just because 400 million people speak with it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you know, if you were genuinely curious. And so, given that there's like 1 billion or 2 billion or 3 billion people learning English, no matter what country I go to, I have one job. That's to make sure that, well, everybody gets the app. And, you know, for me, 15,000 downloads, 20,000 downloads, 30,000 downloads, 100,000 downloads, 200,000. I mean, at what point are we just like counting for no reason? You know, at what point do numbers just become meaningless? Because there's so many people who don't speak English. I will always have a job, you know, and that's just me. Everybody else has to figure something out too. But what's it going to be? You know, I don't know. We've got to talk about it. So, tourist spot ってアメリカと Japan どっちがいい? Well, it depends, you know, because nature, America has some pretty amazing nature for those kind of tourist spots, but Japan has some amazing nature as well, right? You know, Yosemite, Grand Canyon, Zion National Park, like the nature here can be very incredible for sure, you know, like, but then, you know, you go to LA or San Francisco, then you got tourist traps. You don't want to go to a tourist trap. That's stupid. So Japan's nice because you got the train system, you know, so you can get everywhere really conveniently. So it is a very nice place to be a tourist. Whereas America, you need a car. Or you just sign up for some tour, you know what I mean? But tours suck. Like, I never did a tour in Japan, only when I was an exchange student. And I'm glad I did, though, because we had no clue where we were. And it was funny because, like, I saw those Japanese junior high school students, like, 2 weeks ago. And I was like, do you know what city you're in? He's like, Rosu? It's like, yeah, nobody. You are so far away from LA. But, like, they were just in a bus driving around. They had no idea. Like the one kid was like, America, atsui. I was like, no, dude. California's hot. Like, the rest of America is, like, in a blizzard right now. So, like, no clue, right? But anyway, yeah, I would say that's, like, the one. If you have a car and you can do, like, a road trip in America, it is probably one of the peak experiences of life, you know? Like, just being out in the road and seeing those mountains and the long plains, you know? Like, I don't know. There's something about it. So, it's kind of like, but then after you've seen that, then what do you do, right? Well, then you got to go to the next place. Then you got to go to the next place. So, I don't know. If you want to travel, you got to keep traveling. That's just it. If you just keep going to the same places over and over again, you're not really traveling. You know what I mean? Because traveling to me is about stepping out of things that you know and going into the quote unquote unknown, you know? And if you haven't been there, then it's unknown. Even if you've seen a video, you don't really know what's going on until you experience it, right? Like when I went to Vietnam for the first time, I really didn't have any kind of idea what it would be like because I never really watched videos on Vietnam, and I'd seen all the war movies that America makes about it. So it's like, okay, but that was in the 70s before I was born. So, like, you know, what's it really like? And then you go and you see, you know, like, oh, so everybody just sits around on their iPhone in front of their house. No, it's true. Like, so hot. Like all the restaurants and stuff, they have like the kind of like the like a street vendor kind of thing, but they set up the chairs and the tables and everybody just sits on their phone. But they do go to the beach. I went to Da Nang and I noticed that after work, everybody went to the beach and like played volleyball or soccer, played in the water. That was cool. Driving was amazing, like crazy amazing. So, you know, you don't know till you go, right? And if you just stop at one country, then, well, you're not traveling anymore, especially if you keep seeing the same things over and over. I think that's my buddy's problem up in Canada. He's like just driving around Canada over and over and over again. Like the whole point's just to keep driving, you know, all the way to South America. So, 京都のお寺で何が一番好き? Well, you know, the 金じゃなくて金閣寺があれなんですけれども、銀閣寺のあれなんとか道があるじゃない？だからなんだろう、一つの寺じゃなくてなんかすべての経験って感じだよね。京都の街がすごいと思う。どっかのなんていう近所、名前がない近所にものすごい古いお寺が有名じゃない寺、スタバの隣になんか古いお寺とスタバみたいなそういうミスマッチが好き。So 有名じゃなくても like just the, how do you say, the juxtaposition of like random street, but with this like amazingly beautiful temple. Where was I? なんだっけ、商店街、どっかの商店街、古い方ね、有名じゃない方ね、そこでもなんか感動しましたね。そう、京都好き。哲学の道だよね。うん。そう。英語、なんか地図で調べた、it was like the philosopher's walk or something で哲学ってなんだろうと思いながら、いや、哲学のあれ。そう。京都はすごいよ。but like 全体的に。ブルーボトルもすごいよ。すごい古い家の中になんかブルーボトルのカフェが、いや、感動しましたよね。いや、京都好きですね。33剣道行ったことあるかな。いやー、知らないよね。知らない。まあ見たことあるかもわかんないけど、名前が知らないよね。Wait. But this is the beauty of the internet, right? This is the beauty of the machine. I can just like pop up a picture and then I can look it up. And then I can tell. Because, you know, I've seen textbooks and tour books and, あれか。自分の目で見たことあるかな。それかなんかお小説で読んだことある。いや、お小説で読んだことがある。ね。写真ある。有名な写真家がいる。名前なんだっけ。杉本博司が撮った写真が有名じゃない？まあ、俺の中で有名。ほら、杉本博司。Am I allowed to? I'm not going to bother with that. I can show you the picture, but whatever. Look it up. Sugimoto Hiroshi took a picture of this, so yeah, I know. So maybe I probably saw it. I don't know. I saw so much when I was like younger, so it's all like a blur. So yeah, そこおすすめだよね. Yeah, no, I probably saw it. Like I said, maybe I didn't. I don't know. Huh. Maybe I should go back. I wonder if I can get a Akiya in Kyoto. Anyway, so yeah, all this travel, right? Oh wait, why were they? Oh yeah, get my app. Learn American English. Learn how to learn about fascism. So anyway, guys, I am going to really keep it short for lots of reasons, but most importantly is shoulder strength. I'm getting better with it. I have to keep resetting it like every few hours or whatever. But basically, sitting is gravity is not my friend right now. So it is better for me not to deal with gravity for too long. So I'm glad you came out. Like always, this weekly adventure that we're doing together is a good practice for all of us, I think. Honestly, what my imagination has in store for the future hasn't happened yet. And that is simply because like you're on that side of the planet and I'm on this side of the planet, and I'm not going to stay awake until your guys is 7 at night because that's like hour 4 in the morning. Like if I was serious about doing live streams, I would be doing this in the evening for you guys, right? So, you know, this is the next best thing, I suppose. The compromise. We're in the compromise kind of era of everything. But as soon as the healing happens and spring and summer rolls around, we can talk about setting up a studio in Japan. And once that happens, I'm gonna look. Well, let's see. See how fast I can find one. Because yeah, there you go. So once I move to Japan, it's going to be like this. Kinda. A little different. Bigger waterfall. More birds. Stone garden. Anyway, but yeah, I'll set up the studio, get my lights, and get the microphone, and I'll be able to do so much more content from the same time zone. So in the meantime, I'm glad that none of you guys wanted to talk about fascism, because honestly, I was getting sick of the news, and I always think about that. Like, oh, should I talk about these things that everybody's talking about on the internet? But maybe my job is not to talk about what everybody else is talking about. You know what I mean? Maybe my job is to provide a break, refuge from all the bullshit out there. This would be a cool cafe, not gonna lie. It's fake, but you know. So yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in. So beautiful. But yeah, let's get off the computer. And that's the other thing too. I always kind of remember those radio shows like in Shibuya where they're like sitting in the booth, like, and they have like the glass window and they're like live broadcast here from Shibuya. They're having like a talk show or whatever. I kind of have like an imagination, like some image in my head of like doing something like that, But again, time zone, super important. And we're not on the same time zone, so we're going to have to deal with this kind of like delay, I guess, you know? But it is what it is. So thank you so much for showing up. I appreciate your time, Andy. And then, and then Meteor Nokia coming in from Canada. Thank you so much. There's one other guy disappeared from the chat. On Desi, thanks for saying hi too. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow. I don't know. Gotta take it day by day. So yeah, guys, thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. Glad you guys kept it positive. And I will see you soon. The long form video is coming soon. And if you haven't noticed what the theme is, well, yeah, it's going to be about Hollywood. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good week. Try to stay peaceful. And peace out. Bye-bye. Have a good one. What's with the balloons?